Well, yeah, I believe that in this instance you do two things which go right to the source. And my parents have always rented their business rented the property for the last 25 years, and I can tell you, and sometimes in the economy it would have been better to own their building, and sometimes in the economy they wake up every morning very glad that they don't own their building. So there are good points and bad points to it. But in terms of incentive, I really do believe that you incentivize the property owner, and then if you can, through some type of agreement, get them to keep their rents down, or to keep, so you keep the rents down on the property itself. And you can do that by having a better tax structure, which we talked about, or by trying to have to subsidize some parts of the business where you can then keep they can then keep the rent lower for the renter. And then the other thing, of course, is just trying to make sure that the business owner itself doesn't have to pay as much taxes and as many fees. And of course, this has been a challenging time over the past 2 years with the recession. But I think one of the things that we have tried to hold as constant as possible is not raising those standard fees that everybody would have to pay in the business, and we'll continue to do that.
Davis, I was the one that did the legislation that created a reduction on the first $3 million in commercial on the assessed value, first $3 million of assessed value. And frankly, the intention was where those properties were leased that the owner would pass through those savings. We've all seen leases where you have a base rate in your lease, and if the taxes go up, they're passed through, right? Well, the same thing ought to prevail here, where the taxes went down, and those reductions ought to be passed on to those who leased the property. We may have to go back and do some amendments on the legislation in order to accomplish that. And I'm perfectly prepared to do that because that was the intent, small business tax relief, not land owner and business owner, and building owner relief. So if that's what's required, I'm prepared to do that. And I've heard from several people that it has not been passed on. But again, I think that's the beginning. I want to go back to what I said earlier, and that is we have reduced the personal property tax burden on our businesses by raising the exemption rate. We know that that is reaching the businesses to raise it from $50,000 to $225,000. I think helping small businesses with the ability to create purchasing pools for health insurance, and as a result, putting dollars in their hands from President Obama's plan, and also the regulatory reform that I believe we must engage in. I don't think anybody has any idea what the additional cost is that businesses are burdened with in the District of Columbia as a result of the regulatory scheme. It's really like we have Humpty Dumpty at this stage. Every idea by itself probably was a good one, but the problem is when you are the business, you see the collectivity, not individual amendments.